Hello, I'm Kimberly, and welcome to the weekend edition of the Native News Update. It's Friday, August 24th, and many of the stories you hear here can be found at IndianCountryTV.com. Here's the news for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. Kimberlie Craven of Boulder, Colorado, who previously challenged Cobell versus Salazar in the Federal Appeals Court, is taking her fight to the U.S. Supreme Court. Craven filed her petition for the review of the settlement on August 22nd. A vocal opponent of the $3.4 billion settlement reached in 2009, Craven, and a member of the Sisseton-Wahpeton Oyate Nation, had appealed to the U.S. Court of Appeals to the District of Columbia Circuit. In May, the D.C. Circuit affirmed the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia's ruling, which concluded the settlement was fair and meets the requirements of due process. The settlement resolved a 15-year lawsuit that claimed federal officials mismanaged, stole, or squandered billions of dollars in land royalties belonging to more than 500,000 individual Native Americans. According to the Associated Press, Craven is arguing the deal enriches the attorneys and the named plaintiffs who were led by the late Eloise Cobell. Craven's attorney told the Associated Press he won't know for months whether the U.S. Supreme Court will take up his client's case. But according to the court docket, a response to her petition is due by September 21st. The Penobscot Nation in Maine has filed a lawsuit claiming it has exclusive jurisdiction over the waters of the Penobscot River surrounding its reservation. The lawsuit contends the 1980 Maine Indian Claims Settlement Act, approved by Congress, gives the tribe exclusive authority to regulate fishing, hunting, trapping, and other taking of wildlife within the river. The suit also points to an advisory opinion in 1988 from then Attorney General James Tierney that gave tribal members the right to sustenance fishing for salmon. The complaint filed this week in U.S. District Court in Bangor was in response to an advisory opinion by Attorney General William Snyder that the tribe has authority over its land but cannot restrict access or regulate activities on the river, which he said is subject to state laws. The tribe is asking the court to grant it exclusive authority over hunting, trapping, and fishing in the river surrounding the tribe's Indian Island reservation. It further seeks an injunction preventing state agents and employees from exercising any authority on those waters. The Athabasca Chippewayan says Alberta's plan to balance the oil sands and the environment ignores the concerns of people who live in the remote northeastern region of Forest and Muskeg. The Lower Athabasca Regional Plan, announced August 22nd, creates 6 new conservation zones, but allows existing conventional oil and natural gas wells to continue operating in those areas. The plan increases protected habitat for threatened woodland caribou by prohibiting energy and forestry activity in the Dillon River Conservation Region. But the First Nation says the province has set weak environmental standards that won't do enough to protect the caribou and other wildlife. The First Nation wants much larger protection zones for culturally significant wildlife, such as the caribou and bison herds, and for the zones to be co-managed by the band. The environmental think tank, the Pembina Institute, has called the government's plan a good start, but has also said it's concerned about the amount of land being set aside for conservation isn't enough to prevent endangered caribou herds from continuing to decline. Federal officials have started a training program to help the law enforcement community investigate and prosecute sexual assault cases on tribal land. Representatives from nearly 24 American Indian tribes turned out this week for the first training seminar at the National Advocacy Center in South Carolina. Leslie Hagan, in the U.S. Justice Department's Indian Country Training Coordinator, she says it's going to take a federal and tribal commitment and a coordinated response to address the high rates of sexual violence in tribal communities. Justice Department statistics show American Indians are 2.5 times more likely to be sexually assaulted compared to other races. Also, 1 in 3 Native American women reports having been raped during her lifetime. Some of the training is aimed at understanding federal statutes, initial crime scene investigation, and forensics examinations. Native American tribal leaders throughout Michigan met with Michigan Governor Rick Snyder August 23rd in a progressive summit that included talks of social issues, compact renegotiations, and legislation that would affect Native Americans if passed. A delegation of the Saginaw Chippewa tribe spoke about tuition waivers and Indian health care services. They also talked about a bill recently introduced by Michigan Senator Judy Emmons that would further the Indian Child Welfare Act passed by U.S. Congress in 1978 to help curb the issue of American Indian children facing a high risk of removal from their homes by non-American Indian social workers. The bill would create the Michigan Indian Family Protection Act to clarify parts of the federal act that would give preference to members of the child's extended family first when determining placement, considering members of the tribe next, and other Native American families. The governor also touched on the possibility of a renegotiation of compacts between the tribes and the state. Plus, he signed Executive Directive 2012-2 on state tribal affairs, affirming his commitment to the government-to-government accord between the state of Michigan and the federally recognized tribes of Michigan. The accord was executed in 2002 and now spans 3 administrations. Grammy winner Joanne Shenandoah will be donating proceeds from her latest release, I Feel Your Love, to hospice nationwide.
Like the mighty tall oak tree, I will stand steady through the storm. Like the love which grows in me, I'll see the sunrise in the morn. No ocean wave or shaken ground can loose me from your love. My memories will keep me warm through the night with you above. I see your star, it shines so bright, and will watch me through the night. I see your light, shine all around, from earth to sky, I feel your love.
In other news, Joanne will be traveling to Rome to perform just before the Mass of Thanksgiving for Gudali de Gaguitha on October 22nd. Gudali, who was Mohawk and Algonquin, is the first Native American woman set for canonization. And that's another roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. I'd like to thank you for joining me and have a grand day.